Hey there, welcome to the channel. Today I will be doing a chapter analysis on the Valentine special for my original story, Caught in Your Embrace, a romantic comedy series detailing the married life between a cop named Evelyn and a criminal named Vivian. I highly recommend chaptering out the 5 chapters before this and reading the Valentine special yourself with the link in the description before watching this video. But without further ado, let's get into it and enjoy. Alright, so getting into it, I immediately set up a bit of tension and a bit of conflict with the first sentence. The story creates some tension with with having "this wasn't part of the plan." So clearly something has gone wrong or something intense is happening currently. So I already, and then immediately I follow up with an explanation of what was happening. So, in lieu of Evelyn's character as a very methodical, rigid perfectionist, in this case, she has been preparing for this Valentine's meal, or Valentine's Day in general, with Vivian for quite a while now. But as explained with the line immediately after this, nothing was going to plan despite the weeks of preparation. So through this I already create tension, I explain context, and I reestablish and bring back the reader into the present situation, which is a very important skill in order to make this pop. So here I explain every flaw within the plan, and once you start reading this, you realize that these aren't actually that big of an issue, but because of Evelyn as a character being a perfectionist, these small flaws begin to be more pronounced in her eyes, especially in this very high emotional state due to it being Valentine's Day. Of course, I want to continue characterization, especially since this is very early on within the series, with this being the 6th chapter, and not even technically the 6th as a Valentine's special. But Vivian, as a character, continues to disregard this fact, and she just quietly enjoys the food on the table. Despite Evelyn having a lot of shame about this situation. Of course, this one is a very dialogue-heavy chapter, and it focuses more on an emotional depth. Obviously, I continue to add comedy, but so far it's been leaning towards the more emotional side, though you can expect a lot more comedy in the future. Here I have the dialogue, and they have a little back and forth with a bit of comedic timing in order to establish some of the details within this, and in order to make this dialogue feel like a natural back and forth, it's important to say these out loud yourself, especially as a writer, because you never know when a dialogue might feel like it's natural, but in reality it's extremely stiff. So saying it out loud with just like casual mumbling works very well, because you can immediately tell, oh, this filler word actually doesn't belong, or I should add filler words because that's what feels natural within my tone. I like to say that writing has a bit of acting in it, because whenever you write, you have to very much be in the character of whoever you're writing on. So continuing downwards, since this is very dialogue heavy, all of this is sort of accumulates within Evelyn as they have a back and forth on why Evelyn is like nitpicking on all these small things, and why she doesn't feel like this Valentine's dinner is going well. And I have a lot of short sentences, and this is meant to make it more casual, less emotional than I usually have with my other chapters, though there will be a more emotional part later on. There's not much I do with this chapter, but it's meant to just be a nice casual read on, or I guess for you to enjoy. It's not going to be released on Valentine's due to me having some personal things on that day. But it's important to remember that these characters are meant to portray specific emotions and specific dynamics, and by having these dynamics be established throughout the story without explicitly stating she felt like this because she did this with another character, or instead just having the words speak for themselves and small actions, and to characterize them even more. So Oh, I highly recommend reading this yourself, but after that, with this very natural back and forth, we eventually end on this really nice emotional scene where Evelyn is comforted by Vivian after Evelyn has this sort of small realization that she doesn't need to have everything be perfect. And it ends relatively nicely on a nice contrast sentence that I quite like, which is that I use a lot of repeated sentence structure, but I changed a few things in order to draw parallels within the sentence. So with her wife, she didn't need to be perfect is contrasted with her wife, she could be a mess. And then she didn't need to be the best city's best officer is contrasted with she could be Evelyn Chen. So the contrast of city's best officer, Evelyn Chen, perfect and a mess, it really emphasizes how the characterization and brings more depth towards the character, because in my previous chapters you might have assumed Evelyn to be this very rigid, uptight person, but there were some hints in earlier chapters in which I explain, or I have Evelyn display some of her more emotional, less perfectionist side to her. And now there's not much to go over anymore, but I hope you enjoyed this quick summary. Of course, if you want to have more detailed summaries, always just comment down below and I will try and work my best and answer any questions you have in the comments. But make sure to like, subscribe, check out the rest of the videos on the channel, and if you want, read the rest of the story on the link in the description, and enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye.